Why does everyone hate Florida? I just think his music is terrible. My brothers and I, age 23-19 at the time, were tasked with taking our 14-year-old sister to a flow rider show at a converted skating rink once. It was filled with young girls in outfits that would make our jailbait cringe. Flow rider made it rain on them with $200 bills. I still feel dirty thinking about it. Lifelong Midwesterner here. Lived in Orlando for a couple of years though. Here's my experience. The weather is crap. It's freaking a billion degrees and 500% humidity. And then it pours down rain like the end of the world for 10 minutes. Then it's a billion degrees again and somehow even more humid. I actually liked the weather personally, but it was a constant complaint from other northern transplants that I knew during my time there. Palmetto bugs. If there is a heck, it's filled with bizarre Florida cockroaches. Roaches are one thing, but when they get to be 3 inches long and the M can fly, it's a problem. And before someone accuses me of keeping a dirty apartment, you can have the cleanest place in the entire state of Florida and all it takes is one scumbag to move into the building and suddenly the whole place is littered with the kind of insects that make grown men weep. And that's not even going into the snakes, spiders, gatters, and whatever else is around. It's the Australia of our hemisphere. Fire ants in all the grass. Because frick you if you planned on walking through any grassy areas in flip-flops today since it's a billion degrees out. Specific to Orlando, but fricking tourists. Tourists everywhere, just crapping all over everything. They drive like idiots because they don't know where they're going, and Orlando is basically freaking impossible to navigate in any sane way because of every road being 583,758 lanes wide and having a half mile of median. Everywhere I went I had to overshoot it by a half mile and then pull a U-turn down the road just to be able to make a left turn into parking lot. Political crap. I'm incredibly apathetic and, to be honest, a bit of a nihilist, so I don't follow any of the stuff too closely, but from what I understand there are a lot of legal political whatevers that led to eyebrow raising and finger waggling from other states. Something about gun control and how you guys keep fricking up elections. About the palmetto bugs, no one even has to be dirty. It could literally be wet outside and they just come into the smallest little hole or a cracked window and it's in your crap. It's hot. It doesn't snow. In many cities or towns it smells exactly like old people dying. Davenport, Ocala, almost the entire panhandle. The only places worth visiting are filled with huge buttholes. I have had bottles thrown at my car for having a UT sticker on it. Also had it keyed while at a restaurant. I assume also sports related. It's perfectly placed so that when you get hurricanes the 2 weeks following are so ungodly humid that it's not worth going outside. The trees are incredibly boring after the initial look. A pineapple-shaped palm tree. The bulk of the voting population is incredibly old, conservative, and sectarian, but ultimately probably the best part of Florida. Overall, law-wise, it's pretty solidly held. Stand your ground. Traffic laws. I have to say I didn't encounter the crappy drivers I did in Atlanta. I specifically hate Florida because of the crappy business practices I experienced down there. By multiple establishments I was ripped off, cheated, lied to, and treated like crap. The people of Florida haven't earned my respect, which they are cool with, cause who the frick am I? I don't care about Florida, and Florida doesn't care about me. One day it will become flooded and uninhabitable and it'll be a good thing. This of course is why I hate Florida, not the rest of the country. My experiences in Florida have been completely negative. I like to visit Florida, read, Destin, but no way would I live there. My hair looks like crap because of the water and humidity. Drivers insane. People insane. Get anywhere away from the ocean and it's a terrible hellish sweatbox with demon insects. Born and raised in Florida, and in almost 28 years I have met less than 50 native Floridians. The majority of people I've met are the scumbags of other states who just cry and moan about how goddamn better their home state is and how much Florida sucks. All the while they continue to live a life here they just can't stand, even though they claim every day that if they go back up north, they'd instantly make over $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100. The native Floridians I've encountered are well-rounded, polite, and not what many people describe as Floridian. The transplant junkie idiots who continually breed and refuse to raise their crotch droplings like fricking humans are the ones who give this state a bad name as far as people go. The bugs suck. The weather can be brutal, but we have the best goddamn sunrises and sunsets in the country. Our politicians suck, but hey, which ones don't? The laws are vague and the jurors' decisions can boggle logical people's minds, but their decisions unite people and open their eyes to injustices that force America to look their blemishes in the face and deal with them, even if it is for a little while. What I'm trying to get across is that, just like your home city state country, we have crappy parts and people and politicians. But is it only because so many people come to visit our parks, beaches, and attractions that they all notice them? Sorry for the rant. I just have a lot of pent-up rage from years of people convinced Florida sucks, when I just believe they don't know what to look for or how to look for or TLDR. Florida sucks, but not more than anywhere else. Florida is the unfinished basement of America. It smells bad, it's uncomfortably damp, and there's a lot of weird bugs. As a Floridan resident, I don't hate it here. I mean, yeah, it can be really hot, but I prefer it to the northeastern fall and winter. See, you like it here because you have a reference point. Well, it could be snowing. I've lived here my entire life, and the last 15 years have been one long summer, punctuated by a cold snap or two. I would fricking kill for winter. I live here, and I love it. Sorry, Fort Lauderdale. All the people saying it's crappy are from other states. I hate them because their politics are the most fricked up in the country. They have some horrible gerrymandering and have laws that make it as hard as possible to vote. It enrages me seeing their hour-long lines while it takes me no more than 5 minutes. Their fricked up elections are why the 2012 election was decided without them, and they have changed almost nothing since the 2000 fiasco. And all of this is intentional to discourage certain demographics from voting. It is absolutely sick. Dude, lines are only that long on the official voting day. There's 2 weeks before that when the ballots are open, and there's never any lines. Jesus. They send pamphlets to every registered voter telling them this, and encouraging them to go early, and still everyone goes on that one hellish day. I have a massive problem with the people, especially in Central Florida. Most people are wannabe rednecks inspired by Duck Dynasty. Having a big truck with stupid wheels is a status symbol here. People get these trucks despite living in city settings with almost no off-road land that isn't a swamp. They like to blow smoke from the exhaust onto hybrids. They also have a difficult time parking like a reasonable human being. Not to mention they're very rude to people that aren't into hunting, fishing, mudding. Although they've only started doing those things within the past 2 years. As a Central Floridian, I approve this message. I've lived in many different states and honestly Florida is my home. The weather is great all year. Yay, we have insane humidity, but so what? Denver has insane snow, but I dealt with it because it was beautiful. Yay, people are crazy as crap about their politics here. That's everywhere I've lived. Smell. Really? Crazy people. Again, am I the only one here that has lived anywhere else? Crazy crap happens everywhere. Reddit has a tendency to dwell on Florida news stories though like they're straight from Pornhub. Maybe it's just me though. I'm a guy who loves boats and builds them for a living, so this place works great for me. I can take a boat out in November with the family and enjoy the water. That's heaven for me. I thought people generally liked it. Sun, palm trees, Disney World and crap. No, that's California. Every other week it seems there's another crazy story about something insane going on in America. The crazier it is, the more likely it is to be from Florida. Florida, the more north you go, the more south you get. True dat, brother. It's civilized and livable on the coast, but if you go into the swamp mainland, you're introduced to a bunch of hillbilly pedophile scumbags. Stay close to the sea, or you'll find nothing but misery. I love Florida. Source of the best news out there. South Florida is nice. The weather isn't that bad. I live in a nice enough town where people aren't generally dongs. Don't get Florida men here. No snow, so that's pretty coolimo. Born and raised here and I've been to other states. Only comparison I see is the Carolinas. I love Florida. Yes, it's hot. Yes, there are old people. Yes, there is a high teen prego rate. Yes, there are hurricanes. But find the right place in Florida and it's lovely. I grew up in Melbourne and I loved the local zoo. I loved the short drive to the beach. I liked being outside and not being uncomfortable as heck during a bonfire in the fall. I love how not too many people were actually born there. It's heterogeneous. Miami, Ocala, Orlando, it's like 3 states in one. I loved not having to fricking skate my car and get in icy accidents. And F you, old people can be nice. People love perpetuating stereotypes. Also, Chick-fil-A has awesome food and McDonald's should be the one we're boycotting. You can't exactly judge an entire company off the CEO. If that was the case, we'd be buying nothing. I lived there for 10 years and recently escaped. I can say with absolute certainty that the reason everyone hates Florida is simple. It is absolutely awful in every way. The nice parts are Disney and Miami Beach. The rest of the peninsula is a swamp. Mosquitoes the size of a silver dollar. Heat index of 104 with 70% humidity. At night, hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, and thunderstorms are just the start. You know the ground you're standing on? No you don't, because guess what? Without warning, a sinkhole has opened beneath you. Welcome to the land of the lost. Watch out for the T-Rex and try not to pee off the slee stack. Lived here for 26 years now. If you think Disney and Miami Beach are the nice parts, you're a tourist. Everyone knows that if you live here, especially in Orlando Kissimmee area, you avoid that area like the plague. As a native Floridian, this comments pee me off the further I get into it. Everyone keeps saying the people are terrible, yet most of our population is made up of buttholes from other states. The native Floridians aren't crazy or jerks, and we're not all old people. Furthermore, those of you complaining about the alligators are ridiculous. I've literally swam in lakes with alligators before and it's not a big deal or Reddit is making it out to be. They're not going to attack you unless provoked. And if you're dumb enough to provoke them, you definitely deserve it. Florida equals where we put the elderly out to pasture. Florida is awesome actually, once you get past the retirement homes, xenophobic violent natives, hungry gatters and Cat 3 hurricanes. This being said, the Everglades, amazing and beautiful, featuring Mayor Sanibel Island, the only place on the east coast you can witness the mass births of sea turtles and their start to life in the sea. There's a lot of awesome in Florida that people have no clue about. Actually, I honestly think people are the reason that other people hate Florida. This is just an opinion though. You can see the turtles on Hutchinson Island, also Gilbert's Refuge. Florida has something called the Sunshine Law that makes it much more easier for reporters to learn about weird crimes and other embarrassing things happening in the state. The crime rate, for instance, is not that high compared to other states like Delaware. No one reads the stories about the good things happening in Florida, let alone write them. So that's what that is. I don't hate Florida, but frick does it make me nervous with the kind of news that comes out of there. I was pretty sure there was some reason, but, you know, never bothered to find out, and instead just imagined that Bugs Bunny gif in my head. This thread's full of exaggerations. Yes, the heat is annoying, but now it's getting cooler. We're getting into the high 60s, which is the best weather ever. And Florida man, he's from Orlando. Some people I've seen there scare me because they like hard drugs. Plus, mosquitoes and wet heat. Hot and roaches fly. Nope. I was raised in Tennessee, lived there for 26 years, and now I live about 25 miles northwest of downtown Miami. My family and I have been here for a year now. While I have moments where I wish for the super slow pace in Tennessee, I spend most of the time being thankful that we live here now. Capital I. The adjustment to the fast pace, the driving, and the language barrier has been a little tough, but I have grown so much as a person. I'm stronger for it. Our daughter is receiving a public education that private schools in Tennessee would cry for. My husband is a city man, and he is much happier here than in the judgmental, Bible-thumping belt. I like the diversity. Our neighborhood is quiet, friendly, and family-oriented. We picked the right place to live. When and if you move here, you just gotta do your research into jobs available and the neighborhood styles. I would stay away from inland because of the humidity. We are about 30 minutes away from the beach, and there are also tons of different things to do around here. Find the right place for you, and I think you might like it. I was born in and live in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's a great place to live if you're young. The heat can be brutal, but it encourages people to dress in as little as possible, and something about Tampa Bay pushes hurricanes aside. St. Petersburg itself has an abundance of restaurants, museums, concert venues, and bars. I can't speak to the quality of the people, since I have no standard of comparison, but they seem alright by me, and the weird crap that goes down here only makes me more proud to be a native. You can criticize Florida for a number of reasons, but you can't call it boring. Let me add my 2 cents as I currently inhabit this shithole. Florida has, realistically, 2 seasons. One of them lasts for 48 weeks out of the year and it can only be described as aggressively hot. The highs are routinely in the upper to mid 90s. The humidity is such that after more than 2 minutes outside, you will be sweating more than a W in church. I have seen it rain for 10 minutes and watched steam pour up from the asphalt. The other season lasts 4 weeks and constitutes a mostly mild form of winter-autumn, which I can only refer to as autumn. Autumn is very pleasant, but don't let it lull you into a false sense of complacency. The humidity will be back with a goddamned vengeance. Public transportation is a joke. Everything is laid out in such a way that having an operating vehicle is a necessity. The bus system here is called Lynx, which is a name that it can only ever dream of living up to. It is neither sleek nor known for its speed. It only comes once an hour in my area, which is a very apartment complex dense part of town. Tourists. While Florida definitely depends on the tourism industry for survival, it does little to provide anything for residents other than frustration. Droves of people from all corners of the planet flock here for their magical family adventure guaranteed by that freaking rat, Mickey Mouse. Xenophobia. Florida is a very conservative state ran by people with loads of money who have moved here in retirement. Most of the cities are deeply divided racially, thus doesn't have much impact on the relationships of people my age. 23. However, parts of Orlando are literally left to rot because the city won't allocate money outside of downtown. All in all, stay as far away as you can from this wretched hellhole and let global warming raise the tides over this godforsaken place that had better come to be known as Atlantis. They don't. So much Florida pride, right here. I don't. I love Florida. I moved there 3 times in my 20s, each time to a different city. I'm moving back this month. I grew up there and moved to California 5 years ago. Now I live in Reno. Florida doesn't know how good they have it. It's just so goddamn ugly. People think Florida and it's Miami Beach or Key West, but most of it is just freaking vine covered / pines and strip shopping centers and old people. I hate it here. Not to mention the tourists, the general lack of culture, Orlando, and just all over pointlessness. I'm from out west where there are mountains and beautiful scenery and interesting places and people. Never move to Florida. A few reasons. The drivers really are horrible. Not the old people, the South Americans. Every single one of them believes they are either immortal or a semi-pro race car driver, or both. If you want to see someone driving 90 in a 55, weaving 3 lanes wide, while texting and wearing sunglasses at night, visit Miami Beach. Very few people are really there to live an adult life. The spoiled rich children of the Southern Hemisphere party their way across town, getting up at the crack of 3 p.m. Finishing any kind of college degree in 6 years almost qualifies you as an honor student in Florida, even though the colleges and universities there are of horrific quality. It's basically a place for young people to party all the time, and old people to wait for death. Everyone in between is going to have a bad time. It really is hard to overstate how much the weather sucks leathery, sweat-covered Balzac. There's almost no point in ever showering, because the minute you step outside, you'll need to shower again. So one common trend in all these comments is people are generalizing Florida to South Florida, which is objectively terrible, or Orlando, which is unbearable in its own way. Also, the education system sucks, but I don't really agree that the colleges and universities are horrific. I'm obviously biased as a Florida Gator, and I'm not saying my school is elite. but it's not horrific. Everybody doesn't hate Florida. I moved down here from a northern state a few years ago to southern Florida. Things great about Florida. Warm year round. Yes, it can get real hot during the summer, but just about every place has AC. I know a lot of people who don't do any outdoor activities and live just fine during the summertime. What is even better is if you are active, you can do activities year round. Want to play football, baseball, volleyball, tennis, or golf in December? Go right ahead. Want to play in July? It will be hot, but you can do it. If you are an athlete, you can train year round because of the weather. Look at how many athletes come out of Florida. Oh, but bamboo sand, it is too hot during summer. You can condition yourself to adapt to it. When I first moved down here it was difficult, but after a while you get used to it. Disney World. Nuff said. Diverse culture. Where I am from, it is white black Americans. It would be rare to find many people of a different race. I grew up in a rather large suburb too. Here in Florida I can meet people from anywhere in the country, and better yet anywhere around the world. When I was up north I didn't really meet many people that lived outside the US. Now that I am in Florida I met people from almost every country. I learned about their country and culture, and now when I travel I can visit them or at least know about their country before I go. Colors. Anyone sick of seeing gray all the time? Did you know that if you are depressed you are more likely to see more gray? Well, in Florida you wake up to blue skies, green grass, and palm trees. No dead trees or gray skies. It rains often, but it usually clears up quickly. Ocean Gulf. Yeah, you have the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. Like the beach? Go have fun. Want to play beach volleyball and get a tan? Go for it. I personally think people are more friendly down here than any other state I've been to. I hear New Yorkers won't make eye contact, let alone a conversation on the street or train. Like money? No state income tax. Food can be expensive, but if you can budget then it shouldn't be a big factor. I highly recommend at least visiting to check it out. If you have an open mind it is a great place to be. Try and see what Florida has to offer rather than what you hate. You guys should hear about the Villages. It's a community of 50,000 plus retirees. You have to be a certain age to live in their neighborhoods. Composed of 98% white people. It is horrible, and the closest thing to God's waiting room you'll ever see in Florida. Source: Floridian with xenophobic white grandparents who live in the Villages. Highest STD rates per capita 2 in the country, supposedly. No source, so may just be folklore. I love Florida, but I'm a native. I live in what I think is Florida's most underrated city, Jacksonville. I'm also pretty easygoing and things rarely bother me, except mosquitoes and rude freaking tourists. Because of the dang hanging Chads. Everyone hates Chad. I don't. So your question makes an assumption that is wrong. And me too. I don't hate Florida. If America is a plinko machine, all the wackadoos end up in Florida. If you stay away from the major cities Orlando, Jacksonville, Tampa, Miami, it's really not that bad. I feel like Florida gets a bad reputation. I promise not everyone who lives here is crazy or Republican or old. Actually, the major cities are where the more liberal people are. These are the places that swing blue during election. Hate Florida? Nah, it's just kind of legendary in that funny weird way. A lot of your weird news stories come from there, and it's apparently where old people naturally migrate to die. But at the same time it's one of the best vacation holiday for some of you spots in the world. It's the dong of the US, which isn't so bad in and of itself, but when combined with all that heat and humidity it just turns into Nut Cheese Peninsula. Because Florida man keeps fricking it up. Like this video and this good boy will play you a nice song. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.